Good morning, fellow crafters. This is RB Jules with STO Handmade Craft Spot. Today, we're going to take the next step in this wire wrap series, and we're going to learn how to do some basic wraps. Okay, for this project, you're just going to need your side cutters, 26 gauge wire, and this is 20 gauge wire, and we're also going to practice on a piece of 18 gauge wire. Before we get started, I want to give you a couple of tips, because in wire wrapping, though you're going to have all the tools in the world that's going to help you to create beautiful pieces, the greatest tools you're going to have are your hands. Okay, so a couple of things. One, if you wear lotion, my greatest suggestion is to make sure that you wash your hands, to make sure that you get all of the moisture off of your hands so that you can wire wrap, because the wire is going to slide around in your hands and you're not going to be able to manipulate the wire to get the wire to do what it is that you want it to do, because you have way too much moisture in your hands. Or you can put a bit of cornstarch on your hands, but that's just going to make things gunky and messy, and that's not something you really want. So washing your hands to remove all of the excess moisture off your hands so that you can grip the wire. Or you can take an alcohol pad, a bit of alcohol, and just spritz your hands to remove that excess moisture off your hands, so that you can manipulate the wire. Another thing that I want to mention, especially if you're actually new to wire wrapping, is to be able to grip the wire. And I don't know how strong your hands may or may not be, but having strength in your hands, it's what's going to help you to really execute what you need to execute in terms of wire weaving, because that's actually what I'm going to be teaching you. I'm not going to be teaching you wire wrapping. It's an absolute difference. You're not going to be just wrapping wire around a cabochon or creating components or any of that thing, of those things. I'll be teaching you how to weave wire to create the foundational structure for the wire art that you're going to be creating around the cabochon, to turn it into something even more beautiful than what you've already created. And either making your cabochons, buying your cabochons, however you come across your polymer clay cabochons. So those two tips are really important. Exercise your hands and make sure that they're dry when you get ready to work with wire, because it is going to cause greater difficulty if your hands have way too much moisture in it. That was one of the things that I learned almost 20 years ago when I first started working with wire. Period. I learned that process, and once I learned that, it changed how I was able to manipulate wire. Another thing that I want to share with you in terms of wire and wire gauges. Sometimes when you work with particular wire gauges, say if you work with 20 gauge wire all the time and you're unfamiliar with another gauge of wire like 18, 22, it is going to feel absolutely different in your hands and your ability to be able to control and manipulate it. So different gauges of wire have different effects, and also different metals of wire have different effect. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to be using silver plated copper wire by Zebra Wire. And I've never had a problem with the coating coming off the wire. The only way that can happen, which we will talk about in other videos, if you mistreat the wire, and it will expose its natural metal. But this is a pretty good quality of wire that I would recommend. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not a sponsor for it. I'm not getting paid to endorse it. I use Zebra Wire a lot. That actually was the first wire that I learned to work with. And I have used other wires. We'll get to that later on in other videos about different wires and that kind of thing. So we're going to move these other wires aside. And for this, you're only going to need your side cutters to cut the 26 gauge wire. And I'm actually teaching you with the gauges of wire that we're actually going to be working with in other videos as we create the piece. And just as a refresher, the 26 gauge wire, the larger the gauge, the smaller the wire. And this is 18 gauge wire, which is smaller the gauge, the larger the wire. Okay. So just gonna cut a small piece off, and you definitely want to control your wire. Now the easiest way to wire weave wire, okay, is I start in the middle, because the way I'm going to teach you wire weaving, you're going to have to be able to control your wire, and it's going to be much bigger than this, much longer in length than this. So you want to lay your wire across in the middle, find where the middle is, okay, and you want to wrap here. You want to wrap right there. And see how loose this wire is? You're going to want your wire as tight as you can get it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because metal is malleable, and which means it stretches. It does what it wants to do. And you really can't tighten wire until you have several pieces of wire on there, and then your piece can become tight, because the tighter the wire is, the better your structure is. Okay, so, and that's the way I learned how to do it, and it became so much easier to do it that way, because when you're working with two long arm spans of wire, or even one arm span of wire, you don't want it to get tangled up. And trust me, wire has the weirdest way of getting tangled up, and you don't understand how in the world that happened. Then you have to spend some time to untangle your wire without getting it work hardened, and I will teach you what that is in another video. So, and what you want to do, you just want to wrap it and push it together. So you're definitely going to need to strengthen your hands, and see how the wire, it still does move, okay, because it's going to do that. And some people, they use clamps to hold their wire down. They use tape to hold their wire. But what I would, if you have the strength in your hands to practice using your hands to be that extra tool to hold that wire in place, while you use your other hand to perform the task with weaving the wire. Because when you do that, you'll know exactly how tight your piece is, because you don't want it loose. You definitely do not want it loose at all, because it will make your piece wonky, it will not allow you to create the design that you want. It will not, over time, as you continue to work and practice with wire, it will not give you that look that you're going for. And trust me, there are a gazillion styles of wire weaving. But if this is something that you're looking to do, to even just have one professional piece, or just feel like I just want to see if I can do it. Some people learn things just to see if they can do it. Others go on to take it on to be a profession. But you want your work to look as professional as you can get it. And right now, don't worry about that because you're still learning. So it's about having fun. But I'm the type of instructor where I teach foundation. And just like anything else in life, if you have a very good foundation, you can move forward. But if you don't have a good foundation, you're going to constantly be starting over and over again, and you're going to have problems over and over again. So this is one reason why I teach the way I teach, because I want you to have a good foundation. So you hold it with one hand. You can see I'm holding it with one hand, pushing it. Okay, get up as close as I can, and I'm wrapping it. And this is because my hands are very strong, y'all. So if you can't get it like this, don't worry about it. Like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time, so my hands are very strong and I can manipulate wire. Excuse me, sinuses bother me a little bit. And you want to continue to wrap and control the wire as much as you can. See? Now look at it. The more you maneuver the wire, the tighter your piece becomes. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. That's very, very important when we do the next pieces of wire. And I'm going to do a couple of more wraps. And you can count your wraps. That's also going to be important when you're wire weaving. Not when you're creating the foundational part of the wire, but when you start to do other steps in the wire in the design, that's when counting your wraps is going to be important. If you're going for symmetry, if you're going for asymmetry, it's not going to matter too much. But if you're going for symmetry, counting your wraps is going to be important. So, and you continue to wrap it. Y'all hope I'm staying in camera shot. And you hold it down, and you continue to wrap it. See how tight I'm, excuse me, that I'm actually holding the wire. And that's because, you know, with practice, I've learned to do this. I was not always like this. I had to practice all the time before I could get to this. And this is controlling the wire. And see how the wire is not moving. And this is how you get nice, beautiful wraps around your wire. And look at that. It doesn't move. This is what you want. You don't, oh y'all, please excuse me. Sinus is just horrible, but we're going to get this video done. You don't want your wraps moving around. Wire in itself already moves all kinds of directions slightly because copper is definitely a softer wire. They do have different types of hardness of wire, but it's good to learn to work with the soft wire, because if you can work with soft wire, then you can work with the different textures of the wire as you go on. So this is a simple basic wrap, nice even wrap around the wire. Okay, so we're going to set that aside, and now we're going to work with 20 gauge wire, with 26 gauge wire, because that's what you're going to be learning on. And I guess I keep re-emphasizing it because I want you to get familiar with it, and I want you to practice working with those gauges of wire. I kind of mixed up my pieces a little bit. So, okay. So these two pieces here are 20 gauge wire. Okay. So we're going to cut another piece of the 26 gauge wire. And you know, copper, it's a cheaper wire, so you can use as much as you need to practice with it. And you do your work, you can sell it, and you can make your money back. So the easiest way to do this is to even up your wire on both sides, like this. Sorry if I'm not in the camera shot. Make it easy, like this, okay? And create a little point. Kind of shows you how to be even with what you're doing, and then you can separate and you can work from one side. So again, you're going to take your wire, and also disclaimer, I am left-handed, cannot change that. You want to lay your wire up against it, take it, and you're going to wrap around it. Now when you're first practicing with this wire, it may not do that for you, okay? Don't let that discourage you. That's where practice comes in. Again, as you can see, the wire is loose and it's doing what it wants to do, and it's going to do that. And if you can put that in your mind, that wire will do what it wanted to do. As you practice, you will learn to get it to do what you want it to do. Okay. Now what you want to do is take your second piece of wire, okay, and lay it up against the twist right there. Don't worry about this piece of wire, because it's easier to wire weave when you go from one side to the next side. So me being left-handed, I start from the left, then I flip it over, and it looks like I'm going to the left, but I'm not. I'm actually working on the right side. For you, you can start on the right, flip it over, do it to the right. That way you can do this in pieces, and it'll be a lot easier to actually wire weave instead of trying to go all the way around the circumference of the piece. It makes it a lot easier, and it'll take away a lot of the stress for you. And also too, when you start from one side to the next, when we get into the other part of this and you get into measurements, okay, it'll make it a lot easier to know exactly how much wire you need to weave and the additional length of wire that you're going to need to create the design. So that's going to make that easier for that purpose. So again, and it's easier, you're going to lift the wire, push the wire through, get this up as close as I can, okay? And then I do this with my hands, and as you can see, the wire is still doing what it want to do, and it's going to do that, okay? We're going to be doing a figure 8 style weave, and let me tell you, these weaves that people are teaching you, they're not their weaves. I don't care what book they wrote. A lot of these things got started in, you know, like 4 BC, 5 BC, and I will give you more extensive history as I go along to let you know when wire weaving actually got started, because I like to know these things myself. So again, the thing is actually controlling the weave. So, and I'm trying to do this and not have my hands in the way. The next step is you want to weave the wire, okay, once. Now you can, even with 2 fingers, I'm sorry, I said 2 fingers, with 2 pieces of wire, you can create different styles. So this is just demonstration purposes, okay? So, and you're going to come back around this way. Just hold that piece of wire out the way, and you're going to lift the wire, and you're going to pull it, and you're going to come back that way. And once you get started, this is really going to be just a repeat process. Okay, you're going to come back and you're going to wrap it. I hope I'm in the cameras. Okay, and see what I'm saying about your fingers becoming your most important tool when you do this. Okay, I hope I'm in the camera, guys. And you're going to take and you're going to push, you're going to pull it through like this. Now I'm going to show you another technique that's not necessarily mine, but the style that I learned to be able to manipulate wire when you're using larger gauges of wire became really helpful, and it took away a lot of the stress and tension, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, and you're going to wrap. The thing is to be able to control the wire as you create tension in the wire, and it gives you nice wraps when you do this. Okay, y'all, this is relaxing to me. I often wire weave when I'm really stressed out, and as you can see, it gives you nice tensioned wraps, and it still moves, and it's going to do that until you start doing things to stop it from moving, and we'll talk about that as we start working on the piece. Okay, and you're just going to wrap. Really, it's going to be about control, your ability to control the wire. Okay, you're going to have to practice that. That's not something, it's just going to come. Practice, control. And I know you can see how tight I'm holding the wire. Practice, control. And we're going to do a few more wraps. Okay. Practice, control. And don't worry about it if it doesn't come out smooth like this for you. It will with practice. Let me tell you. I may do other arts like polymer clay or learning about beads or something, but for me, whatever I learn is because I'm going to turn it into jewelry. 100% without a doubt, I'm turning it into jewelry. So I'm saying that to say I eat, sleep, and breathe crafting jewelry day in and day out. And that's how my work look like it does. Even when I learned how to make polymer clay canes, no matter what I learn to do, it's going to be how I can use that new technique to turn it into pieces of mixed media art jewelry. That's the end game for me. So that's how it's going to be. So continue practicing doing your figure 8 weaves from start to finish. And don't get a lot of wire. This is about a good 6 or 7 inches of wire, enough where you can hold it and manipulate in your hand. And you continue and you start with your weaves just like I showed you. You can stop the video as many times as you need to so you can see exactly how I did it, and then go back and practice and get ready for next week. So we're going to put this one aside and we're going to do a figure 8 with 3 wire weaves. Okay. Even though we're going to be doing the figure 8, it's not going to actually look like a figure 8. Okay. I'm going to show you how to do a it's not really what you would call an arrowhead type design, but some people say it looks like a point of a star. I don't know, but I'm going to teach you how to do that weave. So we're going to set that aside. And we're going to bring these 3 pieces of wire. Okay, again, we're going to cut a nice little length of wire. Going to cut a piece. Set that aside. Again, as I showed you, just find your ends, your points. Even up your wire. It's that simple. Okay, put a little loop in it. Spread out your wires. Put one wire to the side. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again. You're going to pick up your wire. And you're going to wrap it. As you can see, it's not fully tight at all. To do that, you're going to take both of your thumbs, push it together, and see how the wire moves. So you're going to have to learn to control it. And I'm just saying, if you find it too difficult for you to hold the wire in your hand while you do this, feel free. If you need to use a piece of tape or a clamp. But I would like for you to, you know, try to practice while you're doing that, so that you won't be so dependent on other materials to do it. And some people, that's the only way they can do it. You know, everyone's different. There is no right or wrong way to doing this. So don't feel like you're obligated to learn it that way. I definitely don't want you to feel stressed out. So again, you're going to take your next wire weave, look them in the camera, and you're going to lay it against the twist, and you're going to do the same thing. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. We're going to take and we're going to add another one. Again, laying it up against the twist. Okay. And you're going to wrap it again. Now to get this arrow head or pointed V shape, that's the word, V shape, I like that. You're going to have to add an additional wrap on the third wire. You can add 1 wrap, 2 wraps, or 3 wraps to get the V shape, but we're just going to do 1 extra wrap. So again, watch what I do. You're going to come up under this wire here, and you're going down behind this wire, and you're going to push. Now the thing is this, you may be tempted to want to come to think you're going to get the weave. What you're going to do, and this is where it gets easier, instead of pulling your whole wire, take a piece of your wire and treat it like thread and push it up through like this. And I can't go any further without saying that I did learn this from Yvonne Williams, because when I was doing my wire weaves, I was doing it completely different, and the wire was frustrating me. But when I saw her do just this little piece right here, it changed how I was doing my wire weaves forever, because taking your wire and going up like this can be frustrating, because this is a shorter span of wire, so it may not bother you. But when you have 7 inches plus an additional almost 10 inches on each side of your wire, going like this is not the answer at all. So it changed. It changed the game for me, and I can't even lie about that. And then you pull it. It lets you pull it tighter too. And then you still go back through. Okay. And this is where it comes in, just holding the wires. Now, when you're actually working, you're going to have a lot of wire on one side and on the left. And I'm just trying to prepare you for that because I don't want you to get frustrated or wonder what in the world is she doing. And I want to say with practice, wire weaving is not something that you can do without practice. There are some things that, as they say, you can fake it till you make it. Wire weaving is not one of those crafts that you can fake anything till you make it. Your wire will tell on you. She tried to do this and didn't know what she was doing, or he didn't know what he was doing, and I let them know that because they didn't know how to control me or manipulate me, this is what happens. So you're going to have to learn to control your wire. So you're going to have to hold it down. And with this, you will go out, go inside of the top wire. And as you can see, yeah, a nice little weave going right there. Now, some people like it spread out because you can do that on the wire. You can have a whole length of wire and it can spread out, but I don't. I used to do that, but I found that when you have tighter, neater weaves, that it makes your piece look so much better. But my work didn't look like that in the beginning. So, in this video, what I will do is I'll attach some pictures of my earlier work so you can see that my work doesn't look anything like it does now. Especially if you follow me on social media, you'll see that my work changed over time. So we all, trust me, we all started from the beginning, all of us. There's no one that woke up one day and the weave just came together for them. It doesn't. This is not that craft. It may not take you as long once you understand, but that this is not that craft. So what you want to do, you're going to go back under, and let me flip it over. Here, you're going to go under here. Okay. And again, you're going to repeat the same thing. You're going to be doing the same thing in the opposite directions. Okay? And you're going to, okay, I went over one wire too many. You're going to do the same thing, and you want to pull it tight as you go. Okay? And you're going to come up on this side. Whatever you do for one side, you have to do for the other. That's what's going to give you an even measurement. So don't think because it's even on one side that it's necessarily even on the other side. No, it's not. Okay. And you want to add a little wrap in the middle, which is going to help give you that V shape in your wire. And you want to come up through here like that and pull. You're going to go up through the wire. You're going to pull. You're going to come up under the wire, pull, go up through the wire, and pull, go up under the wire, come up, go down, and pull. And remember, you're going to do an extra wrap so you can get that V shape and pull. Then you're going to come up under, the wire And this is, you're going to repeat this over and over until you get it. And pull. As you can see just now, the wires kind of did what they want to do, and it is because your wires, because you're doing it a little tighter, they will buckle a little bit sometimes in the middle. Okay, but when that happens, because you're using your pliers, be gentle. Just give it a little tap. See how the wires just laid right back out the way you want? And then one more wrap on this side. Remember, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. And I'm actually doing a 2 wrap at the bottom. I guess it gives you a little bit more definition. Come back up, pull. And remember, you actually control your wires. If they get out of line, put them right back in line. Show the wire who's boss, and that's you. Okay. Nice tight wraps. And I've been doing this forever, y'all. So again, I can't emphasize it enough. Don't worry about it if your wraps are not tight like this initially. So this is going to be the last wrap. So what I want you to do is go practice. And there's your weave. Okay. I want you to go practice. So you have your weave with 3 wires. Ooh, there's a lot going on with the wire, and trust me, it really does look like this. So, and you have your weave with 2 wires. And you have your weave with 1 wire. So, and for this snap, I don't know what's wrong with me today, but we're going to keep going. For this step, remember, all you're going to need is your side cutters. And you might need your round nose pliers just to tap it down a bit, nothing major. Your 26 gauge wire and your 20 gauge wire. That's pretty much all you're gonna need to practice these techniques right here, because this is the ones that we're gonna be teaching on. I'm gonna be teaching you on. Try to focus more on this weave, because this is the one that we're gonna use in doing a wire wrap. So the more you practice with more than 1 wire, the better. 3 at least. Stick with 3 and practice. Remember, you do want your weaves tighter. You want really nice, tight weaves. Okay. So that's all I have for this video today. Again, insert some pictures of showing you what some of my earlier wire weave pieces look like. And while I was doing it, I enjoyed every bit of it. A few of them I kept because they were really unique pieces, and some of them I was like, no. And I've since redone them, but at the time that I was doing it, I had so much fun because I was learning something new. I was doing my best. It wasn't about what another artist's work did or how their work looked or what a person's work looked like in the book, because sometimes that can be intimidating because you create this image in your head of what you think it's supposed to look like based on what you learn. The one thing about wire weaving, and that's going to apply to some, not all, but some, you're going to develop your own styles and your own techniques once you learn the basics. And that's why I love teaching the basics, because once you have the basics, the foundation, I want you to experiment and explore on your own and develop your own styles. Doesn't mean that you may not need help along the way and tweaking a few, techniques here and there. But in terms of design, everybody has their own design style. Everybody. I don't care what book you read. I don't care who you learn from, whether it's me or someone else. You're going to have your own design style. And over time, that design style is going to come out. It's going to manifest. It's going to become clear. And you're going to become comfortable with it. And you will know it over time. So in this video series, I just want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy yourself as you learn. Relax. Don't allow the wire to intimidate you, because at the end of the day, it's just wire. And even if you have to talk to this inanimate object and be like, okay, you're just wire and you're not the boss of me, if that makes you feel comfortable, do that. Whatever you need to get through whatever is going to help you feel comfortable and not feel so afraid of working with the wire, then do just that. Because it can be a little scary when you're learning something new, but you're not alone. I've been there. And just practice and have fun. That's the best thing I can tell you, is to practice, have fun. You don't have to work out your process in front of people. Turn on a TV and do it, or look at the video and do it with the video over and over again. Just you and the video until you feel comfortable. And if ever you decide you want to show your work to others, do it. If you're doing it personally for you, that's fine too. But just have fun. That's the object of the game, just to have fun and learn something new while you're doing it. So until next week, have fun practicing, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.